Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch whole thing, just straight into a different topic, please check the pinned comment or check the little red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you'd like to. If you're sticking around, guys, hello everybody, and welcome back to the video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to the weekly news recap of everything you missed in MMA this week. This is a series we do every single Friday on the channel where we're covering every single topic throughout the entire week of MMA news. I'm going to give my thoughts on each of them. And again, timestamps are there if you would need them. Let's get into the first topic for today, the last card takeaways. Okay, this is the first UFC event I have missed in a very long time. So the takeaways that I saw from the last card is Doo Ho Choi is back, even though he had a draw, which the UFC even gave him his win money. And Derek Lewis, oh man, I think he's done, man. I think Derek Lewis is done, and it's an unfortunate reality, but everybody gets there, right? I don't have too much else to take away from the card because, again, I didn't watch the card. This is the first event I've missed in so long. Let's get into the news. So I'm sure you guys have seen this. Islam Makhachev is very unhappy with the UFC and the promotion for this upcoming card this weekend. The UFC could be doing more. They've definitely promoted this less than I expected them to, but still, it's not like they're not promoting it at all. This, if everything is true that Dana White is saying, this is on track to be one of the highest buyed cards ever. So would you really need to promote it that much? But then again, how can it hurt? I understand Islam's frustration with it, but at the end of the day, like, it's still going to be a really massive fight, but I get it. I can't really be too upset at that, right? Moving on to the next piece of news, Aljamain Sterling wants to change divisions. He wants to go up to 145 pounds, possibly after the Cejudo fight, and maybe after he fights Sean O'Malley. He said that the bantamweight division, there is nothing else to offer him there, and I gotta say, man, Sterling, you're losing fans by the day, dude. There are so many fighters that you need to take on in 135. Like, it's fine if you want to go up to 145. I respect that. That's cool if you want to change divisions. But don't say that 135 has nothing to offer you when there's all these amazing contenders. It is the most deep division in the entire UFC, possibly the most deep of any division the UFC has ever had, ever. So, Sterling, that's not really okay to say, but if you want to go up to 145, that'd be really cool of you to do. Just don't do it like that. Why you gotta be the bad guy? Like, it's not hard to keep fans. Moving on again, Dana White forgets Islam's name. This has made a lot of rounds in the community, and I do not understand this. I almost made an entire video talking about this because Dana White, like, he was tired after the UFC event at a press conference, and it was like, what, 5 in the morning? Sometimes he just has brain farts. And have you ever said something where you're trying to remember something and you obviously know the guy's name? Dana White obviously knows Islam Makhachev's name. He knows who he is. Like, seriously, he said his name about 1 billion times, but then he's sitting at the press conference and he just had a brain fart. Plus, he's getting older. He's tired. It was like 5 a.m. after a really long night of a UFC card. I don't think it's a big deal. People are saying like it's so disrespectful that he refuses to say Islam's name, but no, he probably just forgot. Moving on again, Sean O'Malley signs a brand new deal with the UFC. He signed an 8-fight deal, so Sean O'Malley is 100% sticking around. This is nothing new. This isn't surprising to me. I don't think there's any real thing we really need to talk about here. It's just he's sticking around the UFC. For sure, Sean O'Malley seems happy, and I like him. He seems like a company guy. I'm excited to see him fight again. After that, as we all know, the Ultimate Fighter 31 has officially been announced. It seemed like it was going to be Conor McGregor, Tony Ferguson, then it switched to Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. Now, it is officially announced that Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. Dana White made that huge announcement. It's official. It's going to premiere in May, I believe it is, and they're going to fight later on in the year, which will probably be somewhere around August, September, October, maybe, but still we need Conor McGregor to get in the USADA pool, so that's the next fight that's going to happen, and that is the next Ultimate Fighter that's going to happen. This makes me really excited because I am going to watch the Ultimate Fighter. I absolutely loved the last one that Conor was on with Faber, and I can't wait to see what happens with Chandler, right? They're already starting to, like, get ready to beef a little bit. They're two showmen. They'll put on a show, honestly. It's going to be a great season. Plus, we're going to talk about it a little bit. The theme of the Ultimate Fighter has been announced, and I cannot wait for it. That makes it even better. And for the fight, that's a good fight. Makes sense in the division. It's going to be at 172. And it makes sense to fight each other, and the fight's going to be absolute fireworks. I'll say this. If Conor McGregor is not hindered by his leg in any way, shape, or form, this is going to look exactly like the Eddie Alvarez performance. He's going to clip Chandler. He's going to be way too precise and accurate for someone so explosive from Michael Chandler. So it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great season of the Ultimate Fighter. I cannot wait. Moving on again to a fight that I hate. Michael Chiesa is taking on Jingliang. This fight is signed and done. I hate this fight because I'm big fans of both guys. I have to go with Chiesa, though. I'm saying, like, who I want to win. It's just tough. It's tough. Like, Li Jingliang, he's coming off of a performance where he did win, and it was just a robbery. It's tough. It's tough. I want both guys to win, so I don't like this fight. I hope somebody gets injured. I hope this fight gets canceled because I'll be cheering for both guys. Moving on again, I'll touch on this very quickly because I'm not too familiar with what's going on with this specific topic here. The UFC ticket prices have apparently increased for the Usman versus Edwards card. I don't know what it was, and I don't know what it changed to, but there's a lot of fans that were being outraged, and I saw it trending on Reddit and Twitter for a little while there. just to let you know, keep you in the news with that. I don't know much about what's going on, so I apologize on my behalf. Next time, I will look more into it and have an answer for you. So there's something going on with ticket prices right now. People are upset about it, but it already died down. It was like a one-day thing trending on Reddit and Twitter. Moving on again, more drama with Dana White. He came out and said that because Fedor never got to test himself, and this we were talking about Fedor because he just recently retired from Bellator, right? So they were asking Dana White about, or reporters were asking Dana White about Fedor and what he thought about them, if he's the greatest of all time. Dana White said that he is not the greatest of all time because the UFC has the best fighters, and he never got to test himself over in the UFC. I understand what Dana White's saying. He's probably just doesn't like Fedor that much. That's what I had to guess. But of course, I'm not in Dana White's mind. It's tough. I would say that Fedor is the greatest heavyweight of all time. It's definitely between him and Stipe. Could you imagine if we got to see that fight, man? It's crazy. It's crazy. So people are mad at Dana White because people are always mad at Dana White. And this is just another excuse to be upset with Dana White. But this one is a little bit more justified than it usually is. Like, unlike forgetting Islam's name and just having a brain fart. You know what I mean? So that was a thing, and now it's already died over. It's already died down. People have moved on from that because there's so much UFC news that keeps coming out. Another quote from Dana White came out, and he was asked if Derek Lewis was going to get cut from the UFC or retire, and Dana White said Derek Lewis is going nowhere. He loves Derek Lewis, loves the way he fights, and of course, he always puts on exciting performances, right? The lead up to a Derek Lewis fight is always hype, so yeah, I'm not surprised that Dana White's going to keep him around. The UFC is going to keep him around. Derek Lewis, though, he's probably going to call it quits sooner or later because he just doesn't have the heart for it. It doesn't look like, man. But regardless, we're going to see more Derek Lewis in the near future, hopefully. Now, here's a big piece of news. Kevin Lee re-signed with the UFC. Can you believe that? Kevin Lee's back, and that's great because I like Kevin Lee. He's always really, really exciting, and man, he is a good fighter. He doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. He'll never make it to a championship, but it'd be cool to see him get to the top division, right? The only problem is he's coming off a win against a competitive fight with Diego Sanchez, which isn't that great. That's not great, but I hope like they give him somewhere around the top 15. And here's something interesting. People were talking about matching him up with like Paddy Pimblett or someone like that, but Kevin Lee's actually returning in the 170-pound division. Nobody knows that. It's going to be interesting. I feel like he's going to get ragdolled a little bit. We'll see how he looks at 170. I'm not too sure how he's going to look. Maybe he'll look better. Maybe he'll look worse. Who knows? Regardless, I'm glad to see Kevin Lee back. His fights are always exciting. I would like to see him fight Michael Chiesa personally. Moving on with more big news. Gamebread 4 boxing has been announced. Here are the matchups. Jacare versus Vitor. Incredible. Vitor's probably roided up, and Jacare, he's still a good fighter, but retired. His chin's gone a little bit, but still, I'm a huge Jacare fan. Loved watching him his entire career. It was Showtime Pettis versus Roy Jones Jr. I'm also a big Anthony Pettis fan. Love to see him. Jose Aldo's boxing debut against who the fuck is that guy, Jeremy Stevens. Paul Daly versus Anthony Taylor. And Pearl Gonzalez is fighting someone that I have no clue who it is, but a lot of people like Pearl Gonzalez. She was making the OnlyFans rounds a little while ago. Regardless, that's actually a really good card for Masvidal. Masvidal went on Ariel Helwani's show last week, I believe it was, and he's like, I have some big news that I'm about to drop. And Ariel's like, okay, come back on the show. We'll drop the news. And Masvidal, man, he didn't disappoint. He's dropping the news. I'm absolutely going to be watching this card. It is exciting. And I can't wait to see these fights. Even though the guys are a little bit retired and they're a little old, it's still really cool to see. If I'm going to watch boxing, this is what I want to see. Moving on to some more surprising news, we have an update from Chris Weidman, a guy we haven't heard of in forever. And he said that he wants to return around June and he's in it to get the title. He doesn't want to be a gatekeeper in the division or anything like that. He's in it to win fights. He's in it to get back to the title. He wants to reclaim what was his. That's great. Definitely not going to happen, unfortunately, especially if you want to fight, like, give him somebody like Pereira, somebody with power like that. I can see him getting chin. Like, Chris Weidman doesn't have it anymore. He should retire, but I'm a big Chris Weidman fan. Followed him his whole career. It's just sad to see where he's come. You know what I mean? He's had a lot of unlucky moments, especially with his leg break. You know what I mean? It's crazy still that happened after what he did to Anderson Silva. Sucks though, man. I feel like he's going to come back and he's going to get chinned again. It's going to be really sad because I honestly really love Chris Weidman. And I hope he does well. I hope he surprises me. That'd be really cool, but he's old now. His chin isn't holding up and who knows how he's going to look with the legs. So it's a love-hate thing. It's cool to see Chris Weidman, but it's going to be sad seeing him fight the way that he does. Moving on to another interesting one. Guys, I just realized that there's a lot of weird news today. Ryan Bader called out Francis Ngannou. He wants to fight Francis Ngannou to test himself and prove himself as the heavyweight champion. Francis Ngannou is a free agent. Probably not going to sign a Bellator, but that'd be very interesting. Ngannou would absolutely murder Ryan Bader. But I like the idea for it. Why not? Put him in Bellator. Put him against Ryan Bader. Hey, that'd be a fun fight, right? I'd be down to see it. I'll touch on this next piece of news quickly because I made a couple videos and shorts about it. Chimaev, Khamzat Chimaev is pursuing Robert Whittaker, calling him out relentlessly. And Robert Whittaker is like, because he's an absolute dog, he's like, hey, I'm down. I'll fight Khamzat Chimaev. Yeah, why not? UFC presents to me. I'll sign. Love that guy. Absolutely love Robert Whittaker. So it looks like This is actually a favorable matchup for the division if Khamzat's moving up, and the UFC would want to do this, especially with how the title is booked right now, and Robert Whittaker clearing out the rest of the division, having Khamzat Chimaev want to fight a number 1 contender. This makes all the sense in the world. Why not book it? The UFC is actually probably going to book it. I'd be surprised if they don't. Moving on to some low-key happy news, but still not really. Dan Hooker's injured. He broke his hand. The reason why I'm happy about this is because I didn't want to see him get mopped the floor by Jalen Turner, and I think I just butchered what I said there. I didn't want to see him get destroyed. Jalen Turner would have killed him. I wouldn't want to see that because I'm a Dan Hooker fan, so you know what? I'm okay with it. I hope he has a speedy recovery, though. Moving on very quickly, we have a fight announcement. Brandon Royval versus Matheus Nicolau. This is a really good fight. Honestly, I don't have too much to say about it. I don't know who's going to win this one. I would imagine Royval would take this one. But still, it's an interesting fight. It's announced. We're ready to go. I'm excited to see it. And if you want bare knuckle boxing news, Mike Perry, this I guess is considered like MMA news, right? Mike Perry came out and said that he has a big super fight coming soon. The keyword being super fight. We don't know against who, or we don't know when yet. He's just going to make an announcement. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that. Mike Perry is going to have an announcement soon. Now news for next week. Jim Miller lost his opponent, and guess who stepped in? Alexander Hernandez. This is a very, very interesting fight. I don't know who's going to win this one. Jim Miller is on a low-key roll, and Alexander Hernandez is a very, very unpredictable fighter. I don't think he's that great for UFC standards. He's very explosive, but still, I don't know. This one's a really tough one. I hope Jim Miller wins because Jim Miller is one of my favorite fighters in the history of, like, my whole time watching UFC, so I'll absolutely be sitting there like, come on, Jim Miller, knock him out. And Hernandez, like, kind of makes it hard for himself to be likable, so I think this is a good fight for people to cheer for Jim Miller, and I always liked watching Jim Miller fight, and Alexander Hernandez himself is very excited, so, hey, you know what? Short notice fight. I like this better, actually. All right, remember earlier in the video we were talking about the theme for the Ultimate Fighter 31. Here's the theme. Half will be cut UFC veterans, and half will be young prospects. The theme for it is vets versus prospects. This is an absolutely incredible idea. I love this. I don't know who they're going to bring in, but I cannot wait to see it, and I can't wait to see the young prospects come up. Is it going to be the old vets that are going to win or the young prospects are going to win? It's going to be an exciting season. I have a really good feeling about this Ultimate Fighter. It might even put the Ultimate Fighter back on the map as long as the UFC just continues with good coaches and doesn't do like Nunes versus Pena, you know what I mean? Or Nunes Aldana, well, people were like speculating, right? So I'm so hyped for this. That is a great theme for the Ultimate Fighter. Moving on, we got another fight announcement. Brad Tavares versus Bruno Silva, a really good fight. Both guys are really, really interesting to watch. I would imagine Tavares takes this one, but still, a little early. I'll look into it when the fight gets closer to. Now we have another retirement announcement. Bobby Green announces that he is going to be retiring after his last fight against Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon coming off of a big win, if you know what I mean there. So it's going to be interesting. Bobby Green, he's been in the game for a very, very long time. I've been watching him forever. So it's always sad to see these guys go, man. I mean, I'm not the biggest Bobby Green fan, but still, I've been watching him for a really long time, and he's always so exciting. So hopefully he goes out with a bang, as he always will. But this is going to be Bobby Green's last fight. He announced it on his Instagram. Moving on again, a couple more fight announcements. We have Jessica Rose Clark back versus Tainara Lisboa. I'm not actually familiar with this fighter, so I can't really talk on what that fight's going to be like. But Jessica Rose Clark, a lot of people seem to like her. A lot of people are really like simping over her a little bit. So, hey, you know what? She's fighting. She's back. You get to see her in fight week. Yay. And speaking of fighters that I'm not familiar with, Jacqueline Amorim is having her debut April 8th. I don't know if this is a big prospect or anything like that. I'm not familiar with the fighter at all. But April 8th, she's coming to fight. So if you're interested, you know who she is. Stay tuned. Watch the fight. I'm going to be watching the fight anyways. So, hey, I'll get to know her. Oh, man. And we got some big news here. Big news. This is a great fight. A great fight that just got announced. Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker coming off of a huge win and the return of Anthony Smith. This has fireworks written all over it. I think, actually, I like Johnny Walker's chances there. He seems like he's got that killer instinct back, and now that he's training full-time in Ireland with Kavanagh, it's exciting, man. Johnny Walker is coming back, and I think he's coming back with a vengeance. The only problem is a little bit of a chin problem, so you can't really count on him. It's a fight that we will certainly not be betting on. But Anthony Smith, oh, man, I don't know who I want to win this fight. I'd probably still go with Anthony Smith, but Anthony Smith, I've been liking a little bit less lately because of the stuff he's been saying, especially with John Jones. You know what I mean? He's been making the rounds. Regardless, a really good fight. It's one of those fights where I'm not sure who's going to win. I really don't know. Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker, I cannot wait to see this fight. Although, I will say, it hasn't been announced. I don't know if I said it was announced by mistake. It's in the works, so it's almost done. Now, guys, we're going to take a little bit of a pause here. I just got to explain my transition. I'm recording this video the night before it's actually releasing, and I'm going to continue recording tomorrow as it uploads because there's going to be more news that obviously comes out, so that's why you're going to see me. I think I'm getting a haircut, and I'm going to change my clothes, and it's going to be a little bit daylight outside, so that I want to explain that to you, just like it's going to be weird to transition, right? I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, and it's now the next day, so the next piece of news I got for you, a couple little things came out today. We have Bryce Mitchell. He signed a bout agreement, so he is officially clearly not retiring. That's good to see. I am a big Bryce Mitchell fan. I cannot wait to see the dude fight. Even his last fight, you know what? He got destroyed, but still, it was always exciting to watch. I love watching him. I don't know who he would fight, actually. Not a clue right now, because I was thinking, like, in the rankings, it kind of makes sense for a Barboza, but still, they already fought, so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out who. Now, remember when I was talking about Jaqueline Amorim? I've never heard of her before, but she's having her first fight in the UFC. Well, that opponent has been revealed, and it is Sam Hughes, so that's interesting. It's going to be a nice test, and we're going to see how she does in the UFC. It's going to be a really good fight. And the last piece of news I have for you before we talk about UFC 284 is Ricky Glen versus Christos Giagos has been signed, and they're ready to go. So there's a lot of really good fights, guys, in this entire piece of news here. I'm excited for it. Let's talk about UFC 284 for a minute. So at the end of these videos, I do like to talk about what I'm thinking. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I talk about last week's card, just my takeaways from it, and what I'm expecting leading into the card tomorrow night. First of all, LFA's tonight. I love watching that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're a fight fan, go watch LFA. It's a really good card on UFC Fight Pass. Anyways, UFC 284, listen to the press conference. It is still amazing to me how confident Alexander Volkanovski is. I hope the dude wins. That would be really cool to see, but it's just, I can't see it, man. Everybody looks good. Everybody looks confident. The crowd looks, it's like incredible. It's going to be a fantastic card. I'm excited for the entire thing. So I don't have anything specifically to say right now, the weigh-ins still weren't on. Usually I would talk about the weigh-ins today, but there's no results there. Looks like everyone's on track to make weight. Islam looks okay. He looks a little drained, but nothing too special. You know what I mean? Volkanovski looks fantastic for the division. I can't wait for this whole card, guys. It's going to be a good one. Let me know what you think down below. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you are new here and you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like button. It would help out the channel a ton. And subscribe if you are brand new. Remember, guys, we do this every single Friday. We're going to talk about all of the news coming out throughout next week, next Friday. So if you enjoy this series, stay tuned. Plus with daily uploads, daily shorts, guys. Thank you again for watching. If you are new here and enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like button. It would help the channel a ton. And subscribe if you are brand new. And I think I said that already. If you check the description down below for links to all of my other channels. And if you want to hear more fight talk about anything MMA related, hit that notification bell. Thank you so much for watching again, guys. I will see you in the next video. Take care.